Welcome to Bitcoin and Me, Selale. Did I say that okay?
Yes,
Good,
it was
perfect.
pretty good. Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks so much for being on. It's great to have you. And I know a little bit about your story and your background. So I think we're going to have, hopefully, if I do my job properly, we should have an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for invitation. So yeah, I hope it will be also something interesting for your audience, for listeners, and something new. And maybe the two of us will also discover some new stuff or get some inspiration.
Absolutely, yeah. So for the benefit of the listener, then, do you want to just give a brief overview of who you are and what your interest is within Bitcoin right now?
Okay, so yeah, some people know me as Selale, which is my name, and it means in Turkish waterfall. And some other might know me as Aza, which is much easier to pronounce. It's just like made up nickname. The same I'm using on different social platforms as also being the author and also like writer. So in Bitcoin, I would say I do many different things. I like to call myself like a sharp mind with a creative soul because it's really fitting what I'm doing. Is I combined my past experiences and skills with many new areas that I learned over the years. I do support a couple of Bitcoin projects, and I actually transitioned completely from my fiat career into Bitcoin. So I work Bitcoin only. Three projects that I mostly can be seen into like a mostly work for. It's Bitcoin Film Fest, which is combining independent cinema and hopefully cultural shift or renaissance. Another one, which is like my own project, is Bitcoin Junior Club, which is like fun, creativity, and education for kids, families, and everything related, and Bitcoin, of course, as well. And then a little bit of like fashion, creativity. It's wearables. I'm also helping a few other projects with writings like original pieces, translations. I love connecting people because I am for a while in a space, so I know different. Let's say, I do know different people. And I love connecting them. So I know that this space can grow and I see how it's already growing. So it's amazing. And so probably that's it about me. The rest we will discover during conversation.
Brilliant. Well, the first question I ask all my guests is, what's your earliest memories of money?
I was expecting that question, and I wasn't really, because I am familiar with your show, so I was like really trying to think about it, and like honestly, I never liked money. It didn't change much. Of course, Bitcoin changed this perception a little bit because it's like fairer and more beautiful type of money, and it can empower many people in so many different ways. But I was trying to like think what was my first impression, and actually what came to my mind are two stories, maybe interesting, and that's why I decided to tell them. So like the first one, it's really early days. I don't know how old I was, but I couldn't for sure write or count. Like I didn't really know numbers. And the other one is from my early days of the early primary school. So the first one is like my grandparents, they used to have like a big store. You can think of it as, let's say, one of the first supermarkets in a way, with many different products and brands that were not easy to find anywhere else. And this became actually like a family story, a topic for jokes. So whenever like I wanted something from the shop, let's say an ice cream or something sweet, if I would take it in the shop, I somehow naturally felt that these things, they have value, that my grandparents had to pay for them to get them to the shop. And then later that if they would sell it, they would also generate some value. They will have income, right? So whenever I would be given this thing by an employee or my grandmother or grandpa, I wanted them to write it down in a notebook so that my parents could pay for it later. I couldn't still write myself. And it's so funny because if I would be given the same ice cream, let's say by my grandma in a park or just as a gift, I would accept. But in the shop, I knew that this thing has this kind of value and it has to generate the value back. So this is one of the first things, like it's a very, very vague memory, but it came to my mind because many family members are still up to this day making jokes about it. So this is the first thing. And then the second one is actually something that I think it structured me in a way, how I act and how I, let's say, make my decisions. And it's like, as I said, early primary school. So I noticed that some kids, they were given like free meals at school. They were never bringing anything from home, like not even an apple or anything, to eat or just to have. That they were also having like used books, sometimes worn out clothes and stuff. So I saw them kind of like different than me, but at the same time, they were the same. We were all human beings, and some of them were really cool to make friends with, and like nice kiddos, right? And then I remember I was asking my parents if they are just poor and why actually poverty happens and how you can get out of poverty. I had these big dreams that when I grow up, I will be helping everyone not to be poor and so on. I had quite many deep conversations with my dad about it over the years. But what it helped me to realize is actually that it's not about money. Maybe unpopular opinion, that it's about mental richness or poverty. Because in my opinion, you can be like really mentally poor. It doesn't matter if you have the financial means and how rich you are, let's say where you were born, but if you are just stuck in the same situation, if you don't improve, if you don't try to change something, if you are kind of like in Turkish, we say like odun, which is like a piece of wood, you are really mentally poor. And very often, if you are also mentally poor, it can lead you to a very poor financial situation, or it will not help you to get out of it. On the other hand, and this is connected maybe to Bitcoin, there are many, many people that are born in more difficult, let's say, environments, especially speaking out of this Western hemisphere, right? And they are mentally rich. They are constantly taking challenges and trying to do something. And now, especially thanks to Bitcoin, they have finally this means or a way to get out. So I think, yeah, this concept of like feeling bad that some people are poor and noticing it so early, like as early as 6, 7, right? Primary school. And all these conversations with my dad, they helped me to understand finally that, yeah, there is also mental poverty and mental richness.
That's interesting that you, even at a relatively young age, you had that association with,
Mm.
two people in similar financial situations maybe have a different potential to come out of that just by how their mind is assessing their situation and trying to evaluate what they can do to
Yeah, at the very
improve their
beginning, as
situation.
I said, I think I was actually dreaming of like one day becoming the superhero and saving everyone. But over all these conversations and learning different things from different angles and also traveling and exploring different cultures and different personality types, I came to this point that there is a mental poverty that doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you can be really poor. So have fun staying poor has a completely different meaning in this sense. Yeah, also now seeing how Bitcoin can empower so many different people and how it can change their lives actually if they are mentally rich and they have this capacity to do something and willingness. So yeah, money is a very complex thing. None of us really know it, like what it is, how it works. I used to also work in a bank. Many people working in that industry, they have no idea. It's a very powerful tool, but unfortunately is also like something that can decide on how you live and who you are, but still everything is here in your mind. So yeah, thanks to Bitcoin now we have power to change many things if
Do
we
you
are
do
not
you
planning.
think do you think that once someone starts researching Bitcoin, it helps improve the strength of their mental well-being and outlook? Do you think it helps with that?
I think it depends, of course, on the personality and how this person like. There's also this saying, right, that I came for the wealth and I stayed for the values within the Bitcoin space, something like this. I actually came for the hope and I stayed for the hope, but many people come for this numbers go up and then later stay for the community and values. So if you come with this approach, or if somehow there is something in you that you're maybe more sensitive or maybe more curious and so on, and you will start exploring different areas and learning together and also like keeping your values together, probably yes, but it depends. There are probably many people that they just start exploring Bitcoin just as a investment tool or a monetary tool or whatever, and they will just touch the surface and it might not change them. Like this is one of the things also I learned and changed my opinion about. Like as I said, I joined for the hope and I stayed for the hope. I'm still here in the space. And I do believe that Bitcoin, as we very often say in the space, like Bitcoin fixes this or that, right? And it can fix many things, but this is not like a magic pill. So humanity can save itself only by some work, some challenges, some willingness to do that. Bitcoin is not going to do things for us. So yeah, it all depends. It's a very complex thing. Every human being is a complex creature, so you never know.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason I was on a Spaces in the UK on an X Spaces, and Pete McCormack, you presumably heard of him. He obviously did what Bitcoin did back in the day. He was on there, and I'd asked him a question, and his response was very close to what you just said, which is lots of Bitcoiners say Bitcoin fixes things, but without humans taking action, Bitcoin fixes nothing. And that that just hit me so hard because by that point I'd done my research into Bitcoin. I had my conviction, but I was just I was absorbing. I was just kind of absorbing the content, but not really giving anything back. So I came off that call and was like, "Sod it, I'm going to start a podcast." And then I spoke to the guy who locally has set up a meetup, and that was coming off that call. I said, "We're going to do a conference because we've got to take action. We've got to
Yeah.
try and help create the environment and the community in the world that we want to live in
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Bitcoin
Make
won't,
the future already here and now. Yeah,
yeah,
amazing.
because Bitcoin won't do that by itself. It
Yeah,
may help those things happen, but people
exactly.
like me, you, everyone needs to do a little bit of something just to try and help it along.
Yeah, yeah, I fully agree. I mean, and it doesn't have to be anything big. Like it can be just spreading the word or giving feedback or creating content or even consuming content in a conscious way, right? Like you don't need to. This is also what I very often try to emphasize meeting different people, like Bitcoiners, especially still mining fiat. I'm like, don't feel bad about it. Like as long as you like what you do and if you don't feel like used, if you are not enslaved, and if it just provides for your family and if you can convert this money, you're kind of like stealing from the fiat system and then converting to Bitcoin, and if it helps you to go conferences more often or maybe help some projects and then still you have some spare time to keep building or consuming and then giving feedback, is just being active in a conscious way, then it's all good. Like don't feel bad about it. I think Bitcoin space is not yet ready that everyone is going to quit their, so to say, fiat job and then we will end up nowhere. Like it's not about being black, like let's say computers can be 0 1, right? But
Yeah,
we should
yeah.
have different numbers and then just like, yeah, be ourselves and then down to earth, taking challenges, learning, and never trying to force things.
Definitely. And I think it's important to be authentic to yourself as well. So, and
Yeah.
it's not a competition, is it? It's not like, well, who's doing the most?
Yeah.
Who's doing more than me?
And also not being too demanding, let's say your own action. So like I always say that it would be great if everyone is trying to be better version of themselves tomorrow and another day and another day. But it's not also about this for me typical fiat hustle kind of approach, right? Like you need to, yeah, as you said, always compete, always be the best one. Like the best comparing to what? It's just like do what you can and try to breathe and try to, enjoy every moment. Time is very scarce. And in between, eh, yeah, as I said, maybe you are just consuming given content and giving feedback or learning from it and then spreading the message. You're kind of like evangelist. So don't put too big goals. Like don't start running marathon before you learn how to walk, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it has to fit in with the rest of your life as well. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
it
Yeah.
has to, and if you've got a family and a full-time job, and
Yeah.
it's quite a big commitment to then say I'm gonna do something big because that takes up even more of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking like you see of families, so this is maybe a message and a call to everyone who do have kids. Like please try to step back and focus more on building relationship with your kids. So especially if you were a Bitcoiner and also referring to what we said, like Bitcoin doesn't fix everything. If you want your kids to be healthy and live in a healthy society, like sound society, let's say that is also using sound money, spend time with them and teach them like values, very often forgotten virtues and like behaviors and the human connections better. Because if they are growing up in a Bitcoin orange pill family, one way or another, they will be familiar and probably interested into the topic, but they will be missing the base, like these, yeah, human kind of like sound culture actions. So spend time with them and then build the proper ground and Bitcoin will come later on. So just, yeah, do what you can to enjoy every moment and to grow this kind of beautiful garden that later will absorb different things on its own.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's go back then again to your earlier years, maybe teenage years, and as you look to start a career, obviously that was very much in a fiat world and probably with a fiat mindset, right?
It depends. I think I was always, in a way, some kind of rebellion and not fully agreeing with what I see around me. Of course, I didn't understand everything, but my family background is also a little bit complex. There are different cultures and different things related that I had tough times as well, like pretty good childhood, but also tough lessons. And so I wouldn't say it was completely fiat mindset. I was also very curious, I think, from the very beginning. So I'm kind of, I can say, naturally curious, questioning things a lot, quite often disagreeing with what's the status quo. So this is kind of like against the fiat mindset, but many behaviors were typical to the fiat culture, right? And there are hundreds, millions of people like this. We are just born in some specific system that we are programmed to from our environment and schools, also our parents. This is not like consciously we do it, but we are kind of like living in this bubble. So yeah, probably many of them, they were typical to fiat. So I unlearned and relearned many things during my
What
journey.
what were some of the if you're able and willing to talk about them, what were some of those sort of tough life lessons that you said you experienced?
I mean, the tough lessons I was referring to, it was a lot of racism I went through during my teenage times, especially, and also trying to find my identity, who I am, understanding this. But I would say like things that I relearned was, or actually it helped me to sharpen my mind was during the travels that I realized that it's so easy to go somewhere and just be a tourist, but there's a big difference between visiting a place and then exploring it. It helped me realize that everyone is different, that there is no one solution for everyone, that it's so easy for us. And this probably quite often I still use in what I do in some of the projects that I work in. So it's so easy to impose our way of thinking and our perception and our goodwill on others because we think and expect that everyone thinks same way. And yeah, I realize that everyone is different and in different places people have different problems and approaches and different priorities. So it was, yeah, I think an important lesson, not maybe very tough, but it was quite a long journey to come to the point where I am like, okay, don't force and try to understand the other side first. Like, it's not about you, though we very often have the selfish approach. We want to help, which is still selfish because it gives us satisfaction. But yeah, it's like our side on others. So this is maybe one thing. Another thing is to appreciate literally every moment, because I had also a couple of tough moments in my life that you realize that everything is very fragile and can disappear in any moment. So that's why I'm also maybe not a big fan of this like only hodl and then, sell all your chairs. As you see, I have a pretty comfortable armchair. So
I'm
Bitcoin is
I'm standing up. I'm standing up. So I've sold my chair.
yeah. So of course, hodl, if you can, means accumulate more and don't sell your Bitcoin, like don't exchange it to fiat. But it's not like, keep starving and then sell everything you have to have more. You never know what tomorrow brings. So I think this is also something I was learning during my lifetime. And yeah, sometimes I understood it better, sometimes worse, sometimes it was a difficult lesson, like a slap from the universe, but it helped me to be in peace with myself, with whatever comes my way, trying to learn different lessons from any experiences.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the kind of means to an end and the level of stacking and hodling and stuff. Because I think one of the key benefits that understanding Bitcoin gives you is that low time preference and
Yeah,
not. But at the same time, I think that can be unhelpful for some people because I think if you take that to its extreme, which I think you were alluding to there, it's almost like if your time preference is so low, you'll never want to spend your Bitcoin because you know it's always going to go up. So it might go up in 5 years, but I can't spend it then because it's still going to keep going up. And there comes a point where you think, at what point will the Bitcoin you've got improve and change your life or to someone else around you? And maybe at that point, it's right to think about doing
I'm
something with
too late,
it.
right? Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because I think I think it's too easy to get caught up in the hodl, hodl, hodl. But for what end? Like, at what point do you do something with it?
Yeah, this is interesting. It brings also a couple of thoughts to my mind right now. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, and this is just my opinion, but I think many people who have this very hardcore approach is just like hardcore hodling. They're in a way bringing more harm to the entire ecosystem. Like, my personal perception, Bitcoin is money. The same as the first page of the white paper says, is peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Is not the store of value. It's not like the rich scheme, whatever, like you will just, one day exchange it for tons of fiat. And like, I don't, for example, check the price. I'm not so much interested in what's the value of Bitcoin in dollars or euros. I mean, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. I understand when somebody needs to do that, but for me, I'm more interested in what one Bitcoin can buy me. So what I'm trying to say is, like, very often it's people who are just hodling. They are not helping to redistribute, let's say, sats. We are not talking about the entire Bitcoin, but buying things. So helping other projects to exist, individuals. So we need this to survive. It's not about, like, I'm not a big fan of this huge mass adoption. We are, in my opinion, not ready for that. And it should come from the ground zero, from us, from the users as well. So if you're just hodling, you don't help this entire ecosystem to grow. And then on the other hand, you allow these huge players and monopolies to come and not necessarily do the things I agree with.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same page. I'm really passionate about trying to drive medium of exchange. I mean, in our town, we've managed to get quite a few. We've got a restaurant, we've got a pizzeria, we've got a coffee shop, a tea room, a barber. So when we had our conference last month, on the Friday night before the conference, there were 80 of us in the downstairs of a steakhouse. And at the end of the night, it was the first night the restaurateur had accepted Bitcoin. And me and Jace, who I did the conference with, had persuaded him, look, we're going to get probably 50 people here that all want to spend Bitcoin. And we showed him how to use his wallet as Satoshi and stuff. And he was buzzing. At the end of the night, he just couldn't believe, like, he said, everyone in here is amazing. They're great people. They're the sort of customers that I want. And like, you could tell he was
Yeah,
just
and it feels so
absolutely buzzing with
good,
it.
right? That, yeah, that hopefully this guy will, because from what I can understand, he was also like extremely happy and hyped. So hopefully he will like keep learning and exploring and appreciating it. So it also feels good for you that you brought, not forcing somebody, but you helped this person to already collect some kind of wealth, and you gave this foundation to keep building on. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, congrats. Nice.
But also it still surprises me how many people who have been in Bitcoin for a reasonable amount of time that just basically refuse to spend it. They don't they treat it purely as a store of value.
Yeah, I mean, your life, your choices. And that's why I said before, it just came to my mind. I didn't mean to offend anyone, but I personally don't find it very, very healthy. So, yeah, but it's life.
For me it's quite simple. Like when I went into Bitcoin Prague this year and I loved being able to spend some Bitcoin, but let's say I spent 400 euros over the weekend in Bitcoin, then I just top up my Strike account with 400, the equivalent of 400 euros in pounds, buy more Bitcoin, and I've spent and replaced, and
Yeah,
I've just shared
exactly.
Bitcoin around the
Yeah,
system.
this is one approach that you can just think of it as exchanging currencies. Like, you are in a place, like, of course, I'm not saying that Bitcoin is a currency, but you can think of it like this. Or also, like, okay, 400 is quite a lot, but now with Nostr, which is so cool, like, you can earn sats. There are so many different ways of earning some sats back. So, like, that's why maybe not 400, because it will be pretty challenging with Nostr. But, if you spend a little bit, like, you buy a book once, I don't know, a quarter even, right? Or once a month if you can afford more, or you buy some products, or you donate through some project somewhere, or even just use Nostr, you can earn some of these things back, even though you don't work in a Bitcoin space yet. So there are ways to get it back. That's why it's just good to help it circulate, because for some people it can be a huge difference. And also motivation, and yeah, you will also inspire and encourage others. So yeah, hopefully there will be more and more of us. But it's still good, because maybe just an important thing to add here, that I guess your audience is aware, but in most of cases, then we are talking about spending Bitcoin on the second layer through Lightning Network, right?
Yeah.
And I think there is also a trap. I notice it through many projects, especially in African communities, that they are mostly introducing Bitcoin through the layer 2 as Lightning. They very hardly talk about like layer 1, the on-chain. And this is also a trap, so that we don't talk about Bitcoin as this quick money, that can be in a mobile phone, because that's not the point as well. So respect it, also like know how to self-custody, how to protect it, how to maybe pass it later. And it's not only this quick thing to pay through your phone. So
Yeah. But I think with those things, for me, it comes down to the amount of wealth you have in it, as in, like, if it's someone who's just found Bitcoin and they've been sent £5 on Wallet of Satoshi by someone like me who said, just download this on your phone, I'll send you some Bitcoin, and they've got it in Lightning on layer 2. It's when people start investing more heavily and leaving things on exchanges, or having like €1,000 worth of Bitcoin on a Wallet of Satoshi, and you're like, that's where it starts to get a bit more twitchy for me.
yeah, exactly. And one way or another, it's always, I think, about being sovereign in your mind, and then just thinking for yourself. So even if you get like a little bit of sats in the whatever Lightning wallet, right? Hopefully you will start exploring the topic a little bit more, and then you will start investing in the long term, and then start building this kind of wealth. And then you will also learn why self-custody is important and why not exchanges and this. So it's kind of like I sometimes say that it's like a train. Once you take it, it will take you on a journey forever. So it's not just like, yeah, there are so many different topics and so many different areas, and it will just get you deeper and deeper. So hopefully that will be the case for most of the people who had any kind of like touch point with Bitcoin, whether Lightning or on-chain. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think some of those conversations on day one can be quite jarring, can't they, with someone? So if you're trying to, orange pill, I don't like that phrase particularly. If someone asks you a bit about Bitcoin and you kind of think, right, well, let me just show you how to download a Wallet of Satoshi and I can send you some sats, to then say, well, that's layer 2, but it's not on chain.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You
this
start to lose the persons.
yeah,
I think you have to pick your battles.
this can even help, but you can, of course, it's a very complex topic, but sometimes, again, coming back to when you ask me like what I learned through my teenage times, right? Like I said, everyone is different and has different problems and priorities. And I learned how not to look at others through my own lens, how not to perceive them and try to impose things. I think it's pretty important, because if you want to help somebody, don't just give them the rod. Don't give them the fish. Give them the rod and teach them. So giving free Bitcoin like this, maybe somebody will be happy and just 5 minutes later forget. And it just, yeah, like it's wasted time and resource, and also wasted sats, right? So it depends on the case. Sometimes you can bring more harm by orange peeling people like this, having 5 minutes.
If I give an example, when I started talking to a guy that was cutting my hair, and he said, I'm interested in it, but it's all a bit too complicated for me. And so in that instance, I said to him, look, if you want, I'll tip you in Bitcoin. And so literally within 2 minutes, he downloaded Wallet of Satoshi, he'd backed it up to his email, and I said, look, just show me that QR code. And then I got my phone and sent him like £2-3 worth of sats.
You approach the guy. Yeah, you
and it was
approach the guy
perfect.
based on his kind of life scenario, his situation. Is not like somebody is asking you about Bitcoin and then immediately you say, oh, it's so quick, let me send you, or whatever. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You need to put your ego a little bit back and don't try to help the world from your own perception and good intentions, because sometimes you can hurt them. It's just like listen and then try to fit into a particular situation.
Yeah, it's a tough skill that I think all of us Bitcoiners continue learning day by day, because,
Yeah.
as you say, there's no two people are alike in terms of the things that might interest them about Bitcoin, and or the things that they might have that are putting them off considering
Yeah,
Bitcoin. So
absolutely.
every situation is unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this sense, I can be a little bit judgmental, like thinking about myself, or a little bit critical. So I know I have this tendency sometimes when I'm like really passionate about something, I'm forgetting, like I'm getting too much with the flow, and then I might start after a few minutes explaining things like too difficult things or too complex, and then this person is getting lost. So like, yeah, I stopped orange peeling people when I feel like I'm just trying more of like spreading seeds and then letting people know that I do exist, or I'm aware, or I'm even contributing to some resources, so that when these people are ready, they can find either me or this ready resources, instead of me going to them like, yeah, trying to bring the message. So I'm like putting the different seeds everywhere that they can be found wherever needed, instead of like me going to others and then bringing the input or the topic.
I went to Bitcoin Prague 2025 and I absolutely loved it. It's back again. If you're looking at going, use code GaryBTC at checkout for 10% off your tickets. The other thing I was keen to talk to you about was how you forged a path away from mining fiat into being purely working within Bitcoin, and some of the, I don't know, compromises, challenges, hurdles that you faced going down that path.
I think it was a journey as well. I can say that just one day I finally decided that, yeah, I will stop lying to myself, because also the industry, or let's say the area I've been working with it, like within, so let's say the marketing, users, data, branding, strategy building, sales, I realized that this is all fake. And even if I like people with whom I'm working together, or even if in general I like my job, I don't serve any purpose and it's completely against my values. So I just ask myself this question, like, what's more important, just to keep earning money and then suffering, like looking into the mirror and feeling like you betray yourself? Like, what do I want from my life? Fortunately, I am in a situation that, thanks to my husband, who is also my friend, and also like through my proof of work and connections that I had, because I've been in the space, in the Bitcoin space for a while, I could afford such a step. So it was not like a very rapid decision that one day I woke up and I was feeling bad and I decided, okay, I quit my job and I'm reckless and whatever life brings my way, I take it. No, I was probably not even being conscious. I was preparing myself, or I set up quite a safe environment for myself to be able to make such a decision. But yeah, literally it was a couple of years of mistakes and lessons and not feeling well with what I'm doing and learning more and more of the dirty environments, like utilizing users' data, how manipulative everything is, and not seeing any actually purpose in that. So I just decided that I don't want to work for money. I want to work for something that fits my values. And this is, I think, the best decision of my life, because I feel really, really happy with working. Like, I love this expression as well, that, yeah, do like love what you do and you will never work a day in your life. I work a lot. Sometimes I feel like workaholic a little bit, but it brings me a lot of satisfaction and I see actually results of what I'm doing. It's not like I'm just serving somebody. And what is even more important, I'm not serving the system that I see as an enemy of humanity. So yeah, I'm not saying it's an easy decision and everyone should do that, but hopefully, yeah, being conscious and building this background, like, yeah, community and a little bit of financial safety and stuff, can help more and more people over time to take similar steps.
Was it a gradual shift for you from one to another, or was it a cold turkey? Something happened one day and you're like, right, that's it. I'm quitting fiat world and I'm committing myself to Bitcoin.
Well, I think it was more like drops, different situations. I used to change in the last, I mean, it's already quite a long time ago, but I used to change my jobs. So I was working as a consultant in, let's say, branding, then it was automotive, then it was like social trading, workforce, tech. So like it was always the same area, but in different industries, in a little bit different roles. So I think in each of them, there were like different drops, very bitter drops that gave me some lessons to digest. And when the final drop just, you know, put the water out of the vessel. So yeah, it's like a journey.
Yeah. And you did 2 degrees. That's right, isn't it? Is that
Yes,
correct? You did
it
2
was like,
degrees and
yeah,
then
I mean, 2 degrees and tons of different courses. I think many people might have similar story. This is also interesting. Now I see I don't need papers to prove my skills. Actually, the results of what I do is the best proof. I don't need to have some certificates or whatever. But I had, maybe in this sense, coming back to one of your previous questions, speaking of the fiat mindset, before I thought that, yeah, and maybe this is also related to the environment we are living in, that everyone is expecting you to show off with some kind of certificates, approvals. But I also learned that, yeah, you don't need to have 20 of courses and universities and whatever, because not necessarily you have the right skills. The skills you actually gain through experience. But yeah, I do have 2 degrees and tons of different courses.
how would you give advice then to, uh, an 18-year-old just coming out of school, considering their options for their career, for their life? Again, that's quite a big question, I appreciate,
Yeah,
but
it is a big question. And in this sense, I feel a little bit skeptical about answering it because somebody might misunderstand it. I would just say, like, think, especially, it depends, when you are 18, sometimes you can be more mature, less. We tend in every stage of our life, we tend to believe that we are already set, that we are who we are. But actually, that's not truth. And this is the beauty of being alive, that every now and then you can actually realize you are improving and changing, and you are a little bit different person. So especially when you're 18, you might not be fully structured, but I would say try not to chase money and wealth and shiny objects, but think of what you like, what are your strengths. If you want to go to the university, also don't hear like, don't go from black to white. If somebody, let's say, if you are within the Bitcoin space and you hear like only homeschooling, never go to a traditional, let's say, educational system, whatever, universities are brainwashing. Yes, it's true, but don't blindly listen to others. You can go to a university and you can still build great connections and maybe learn some life skills or whatever, right? Just be down to earth, be critical, and be yourself. So, like, treat your life as a very precious thing and never take experts as the best advisors. Just listen to yourself, and also don't be too critical. Like, even if you make mistakes, it's just kind of like a gift from the universe to learn something. But yeah, I don't want to advise because it's a very, yeah, as you said, it's a big topic. So
yeah, yeah. And if we think of the system that we all work within now, there are quite clear paths for a fiat career. I'm an accountant, so I did my A levels, I went to university, did my accountancy exams. There's quite a clear path for a lot of professions in traditional fiat world. Do you think, how far away do you think we are from living in a world where there are maybe some career paths for a Bitcoin career?
we are already in such a space. One of my friends, Anya, the founder of Bitvocation, she helped a lot because there were many different platforms, and we are already in a stage of many projects, especially depending on the markets and the price and different situations. They need more or less resources, and very often is a perfect um, area as well, spectrum for younger people who do have some talents but not necessary experiences. It's also, like, I would say, win to win, because with lower cost for a company, they are also structuring somebody new. I mean, this is not so different to a fiat world. So there are different platforms, but with Anya, that with Bitvocation, she is kind of like aggregating it and also helping to gain more experience and connections and skills. And I think already for younger generations, let's say somebody from 17 to 20 something, early 20s, they can already get internships, simple jobs, more ambitious jobs. It's all about what kind of talents and interests you have, how you want to contribute. I would say, and maybe I can tell you an interesting story about my mistakes from my past, which I don't regret because it structured who I am right now. But again, a call to like younger people and even like older, more mature, don't try to force yourself to do things that don't feel right. Like try to listen to your gut feeling a little bit more. Of course, sometimes, yeah, you need to sacrifice, so to say, but don't get stuck into something because you have to. You don't have to do anything. This is also another way of thinking that you have to graduate. You have to get this job. You have to like behave in a specific way. No, really, it's your life and it's the only life you have. So yeah. But for example, when I was in my early 20s, even before. So when I started the university, I was giving like private classes or like tuition to kids and adults. And then I also had a couple of classes in a private school for pupils, like smaller kids. And then somehow, I don't remember how, but I started running only with a friend of mine. So I'm like really early 20s. I started running, so to say, unconventional language camps, and they were really successful, like pretty lucrative. We made a lot of money. And then most of these things I was actually earning cash. So I was also like seeing it, and I knew how much, work and effort I spent to get this money. And I think I was saving a little bit more. I was more conscious how I was spending it. And then unfortunately, yeah, the entire culture put me into like skip this entrepreneurial, so to say, journey and then get a stable job and start chasing a corporate career, jump into the entire machine. As I said, I don't regret it, but maybe, and that's why I said it, maybe it can be warning to any young person, like don't do it because you have to, because these are some kind of norms and trends. Just do how you feel and what fits you. And even if you realize this is a mistake, just learn from it and go further.
I sometimes wonder whether it's easier for a younger person to take that leap of faith. If, let's say you live at home and you're 19 years old, you can take risks with your career or your life path without significant consequences on other people, because you're living at home. If you've made a mistake trying to do something, you're young enough to get back on the right path. If you're an old wrinkly person like me who's got a wife, 2 kids, mortgage, financial responsibilities, like, yes, on one hand people will say, but it's okay, you've already built up a buffer, so it might be easier for me. But on the other hand, taking that leap of faith and that big risk, there's a lot more things at stake, like your house and your family. So I don't know, how do you assess that?
Yeah, this is actually cool that you started it. That's why I disappeared for a second, because it could reach something that will fit my answer. I would say yes and no. And it's all in your mind again. I love Matrix. So this is all in your mind, Neo. And at the end of the day, we are very often building this kind of prisons, like this kind of frames. Of course, the system is building walls and cages for us, but at the end of the day, it is all in your mind. So look, this guy, choose life, Daniel, he had a very successful career. 4 kids. So you can say, was it risky for him to leave it all behind and start anew? Yes, it was more risky than for a young person just having a whole life ahead. So that's why the answer to your question is yes and no. I think this is like how you act is a combination of the different things. It might be a little bit of your personality, also your security, and also how much you have to lose. Some people, they can do anything because they don't have much to lose. Others, they build this prison and they have, I think this is kind of like Daniel's story, that he was, if I remember correctly, very afraid of taking a big jump because he started building in his own mind this stories that everyone will refuse him if he fails. So it's all up to us. I don't like being completely drastic, like in any steps, and not planning a little bit ahead. But I think we shouldn't be afraid of trying things. And at the end of the day, if you really feel unhappy, try to build a solution, like long-term thinking, build a solution already here and now. Instead of focusing on complaining and being unhappy, try to start building the solution, put your resources and your energy into like thinking how to get out of the circle. Or as I said, even if you make a mistake, you took you made a big change in your life and then it failed, like don't blame yourself, don't kill yourself, because still you can rework the situation. So like it's not the end. I think also risk tolerance, it's, yeah, as I said, a combination of many different things. It might be your personality, your experience, how safe you feel or how unsafe you feel, how much you were forced to take a specific decision. At the end of the day, you can do anything you want, literally, and I mean it. But you need to believe in that and not be maybe too drastic with some decisions you make. Because if you act silly because somebody told you, or you just act with emotions, yeah, you will pay the price. And then the price might be also the greatest lesson of your life.
Yeah, and I think to go back to one of the first things you said on the podcast around that the mental strength and the mental
Yeah.
outlook, you know, again, for those two examples of the very young person living at home, they've got the mental turmoil of, like, some of my friends are already starting careers and are earning good money. I know, and they fall into the trap of,
Yeah,
I need people are
Mhm.
telling me I've got to do the same thing, and you haven't.
Exactly. But that's the thing. So you are like, yeah, what you said, they are earning, like they make good money. But that's the thing. Do you work to
Are they
make
happy?
money? Like, is it the main goal? If even for a while you do that, and I've been there. I mean, I really quit well-paid positions and I had the status and stuff, like, but I didn't feel well with myself. Like I was cheating myself, cheating on myself.
And often, I think financial wealth
Yeah.
often comes at the expense of mental
Yeah.
health
At
and
the very beginning, I also said,
well-being. And
yeah, I realized you can be mentally poor as well.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is the beauty of life and this entire journey. It's kind of like a game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The thing is to appreciate every single moment, even if it's very painful and it will leave you some scars. But each of the scars maybe is a reminder of something. It's not also about like scratching all these scars and trying to get back into the past and like feel miserable about something. It's not the point. It's just literally like a game. Go to another level, go to another level, and then just remind yourself of some mistakes you made and try to learn from it. I think, I mean, look, we are living in a digital era. It's like, think, I don't know how old are you, but I'm sure you remember old times, pre-internet or very early days of the internet. So currently you have access to almost anything, like every single piece of information. Also, speaking of different rabbit holes, like many different parts, untold parts of the history are more and more available. We have social networks, we have great communities. So like really the entire world is open. There are a lot of crazy things happening and they've been always there. We are literally living in the matrix. The entire reality is just built on lies and manipulation, but you have access to all this stuff. You can achieve anything you want, literally. But I think this is also the, how to say, like the role of parents, friends, environments, like to help, especially from the very early age. I mean, you are a father yourself. You have an amazing son, like from what I shortly seen somewhere online. He is also like probably given from you the proper way. Like you are not controlling him, and I can guess imposing stuff, but giving him conditions to learn and keep thinking and experiencing things on him, like no. And I think this is very important. Like this can help structure the future and future steps of the next generation. Like if you are a parent, if you are also a young person and you have friends, you can also help maybe your peers. So it's the entire journey called life, and it has its ups and downs.
I think it's really important as well to be clear in your own mind and not be
Yeah.
overly influenced
To
by other
be
people.
yourself, first of
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Like sovereign, like really sovereign. Even within the Bitcoin space, I sometimes see, some, again, not to offend anyone, but too often I see like these kind of ideology, I don't know, Bitcoin almost as religion, or blindly believing in some more influential people because they said so. I mean, really, don't trust, verify has a very, very deep meaning. You don't need to follow 100% narrative because it's popular in social media and it's Bitcoin related. The same way, like, I don't know, not everything that is Bitcoin related has to be great. And Bitcoin in itself, it can become actually a very dangerous weapon against us because it's transparent ledger, right? So, like, know who you are. If you don't know who you are yet, keep exploring this path. Try to be a better person and have, yeah, some kind of values, and keep learning.
And try and surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this meme. There are like oranges. One of them is rotten. Do you know this one? Like,
Yeah, I'm not sure I do actually.
yeah, but so like to help you imagine, like you have different oranges and one of them is like partially rotten, and it says like be careful with whom you surround yourself with because you can be affected. And I think there is a lot of truth in that. Of course, it doesn't again decide on who you are going to be forever, right? This is also not to have this mask of a victim or whatever, like I was born here or I was raised here and there, so it is me. No, it's as I said before, it is not you. It's not even me right now. It will be the same person tomorrow. Like, okay, I'm not changing maybe so much, but you know what I mean? Like we are not fixed, let's say. So yeah, it's very important with whom you surround yourself with. I always say like keep building your army or your tribe. Or your tribe attracts your vibe attracts your tribe. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, can we talk about some of the projects then that you're involved with now? That would be really interesting. I think I'd like to know more about. What was the first one you said about
Big
films?
Culture Fest. Yeah. I
Because
don't know. Are
you're are you doing? I think you were about to ask me if I was going to Manchester. Is that were you
you
about to say that? Yeah. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to be up in Manchester.
Okay, so you will have a tiny experience of the Bitcoin Film Fest. Hopefully, you will find some time together with your son and daughter. I don't know if you have more kids. I just seen somewhere that you have a son. If you can, also, I hope you can visit us in Warsaw next year, at the beginning of June. So it will be the fourth edition of the festival. But shortly speaking about the project itself, it's not only an event. And first of all, it's not a conference. It's a cultural, I would say, community-driven experience. But this is not only that. This is like a cherry on a cake or icing on a cake, happening once a year in Warsaw, Poland, because of many different reasons, the city's history, and so on and so forth. But from time to time, we are organizing or collaborating with other projects, events, slash conferences, meetups, like, for example, Manchester, we are friends with. Also, I'm flying to Goa. There will be one evening screening, so mini cinematic experience. And so we are trying to help all the independent filmmakers and content creators, like video slash animations, visual creators, so to say, and filmmakers as well, because these are two different things, to be heard, found, seen, and bring this kind of orange pill cinema, not only about Bitcoin, but like freedom and everything that's connected to the Bitcoin ethos. We are trying to bring it to the cinema fans and people who are a little bit bored and disappointed with the legacy cinema. So this is like event-wise, experience-wise. Otherwise, this is a platform that is, as Bitcoin Film Fest, operating year-long. So yeah, it requires collaborating with filmmakers, creators, and so on, researching many things, distributing content, producing content. We are not making films on our own, but I don't know, running interviews, writing articles, making posts, social media, building relationships. So yeah, Bitcoin Film Fest, as this year, our motto was fix the money, fix the culture. So this is what we are trying to achieve. It's a small team. We're, let's say, volunteers. So this is not like our main income.
So is there anything on? Is there any of those films that people can get access to watching online?
Some. So again, it depends. Like, as I said, there is a pretty big difference, not to judge what's better, what's worse, but there is a difference between visual content and a film. So some of these things are available online. I would say a pretty good bad documentary, because this is the majority in a space. It's No More Inflation by Bitcoin Shooter. I think he finally made it even available for free on YouTube. And this is a proper film, though a documentary film. Otherwise, there is quite many different shorts, animations, cartoons. You can visit bitcoinfilmfest.com, and one of the blogs probably section. So it's called, no, I forgot. Bitcoin Cinema Digest. You can read what was released, what's available where, what's available as paid or only during the screenings. So yeah, it's a little bit of work for people to be done. If somebody wants, there is also a pretty cool platform growing called Indie Hub Studio. So it's Lightning connected. So it's actually cool because it's empowering creators to earn sats if the content is appealing to the audience. They are kind of in the beta version, so it's not like yet Netflix rich, but there are quite many nice pieces. Otherwise, hope some of you will go to Manchester, the Bitfest, or Goa the BitPleb Summit. One of these two, there will be an option to experience some of the famous.
Maybe you'll have to come to the conference in Bury St Edmunds next year, and we'll set you up in one of the rooms.
Yeah, if I can, it will be amazing. If not, maybe we can also organize something or help you organize something, because I think it's always interesting to see people um, how people are digesting this content, how they see it, what kind of stuff they would expect, because in different locations they have different expectations, different needs. Some of them, they are completely surprised that such a space exists. Some of them are finally motivated to do something on their own because they have some backgrounds or they have passions or like whatever. So yeah, let's keep in touch about it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, that
are
sounds
doing
good.
it to fix the culture.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other one was around education, was it?
Yeah, I would say a little bit more than education. And you will in Manchester also get a tiny taste of that. So it's called Bitcoin Junior Club. It's education and fun zone, like for kids, families, and teens. Hopefully, it's going to be something that will be co-run by the youngsters one day, not only by me. It's, let's say, when you think about when it got launched, it's quite a new project, a little bit over a year old if we count when the website was released and so on and so forth. But actually, it's something that I used to do on a smaller scale for a couple of years. I'm a nomad, I'm traveling. So I started producing different creative, let's say, worksheets and stuff, introducing the topic of Bitcoin, either in a visual way or as a topic, as lessons, games, coloring pages, and so on and so forth. It was also a testing balloon for parents to see if they will recognize the logo for kids, some fun stuff, something different to work manually with. And then from there, it grew the entire idea of, I can say, like a hub of resources. So I'm curating, long story short, different content from other existing family friendly projects, categorizing them, helping these projects to be found and understood in a different way, also giving them extra space, helping hopefully through this also families to find interesting resources, actually variety of resources through different categories, availability. I'm also producing quite a lot on my own. Within this, I help, like going back to my roots with this unconventional language camps, I'm helping different events either remotely or being on a spot to bring a little bit more family friendly Bitcoin related activities and topics and resources and people. So Manchester will have a tiny part of that. And it's so cool to see that they didn't ignore the topic of youngsters. Yeah, El Salvador will be once again way bigger. Last year we did this Bitcoin para Niños, which was literally a 2 days mini conference for families. This year I'm going there again. So I think this year it will be called like Bitcoin Familia, and it's also co-run by the Mi Primera Bitcoin, so like locals, very cool space. So I'm trying to do more than education, and actually I can even say more than Bitcoin education, because I do believe that Bitcoin will not save us, right? As I said before, and I want the youngsters to feel comfortable to build connections with their peers, to see that this is like a normal form of money, maybe new to learn about it, to be creative, to think for themselves, to feel happy. So it's more than, that's why it's not only education. It's a education, fan zone, creativity, Bitcoin, and all the stuff related that will hopefully help us to survive as human
Wow,
beings.
fantastic. And then the other one, I think the third one from memory, you said it was did fashion. Is it right?
Fashion is a far-fetched world, a little bit big. So wearables by Shella. It's kind of like also connected to Bitcoin Film Fest. It's connected to Bitcoin Junior Club, and it's connected to my past where I was helping through whatever and however I could, different projects. So I just love relaxing by drawing and designing. This is one of the new skills. I never studied this thing. Personally, I have it, and I think I improve it in a way. I used to design different, let's say, wearables for different people, different conferences, events, projects. I was also trying to bring the topic of alpaca, Bitcoin alpaca back, because many people are not aware that one of the first products you could buy in Bitcoin, still paying on chain, was socks, like alpaca wool socks.
Nice.
So I started producing my own socks line, and then from there, it's fashion is too much. I would say just like wearables based on unconventional designs, either on demand or looking at the shop. There is some stuff for kids. There is some stuff for projects that they need unique designs, and some other things that I'm just doing and selling or giving to people. It was also for a while, like an orange peeling tool. But I realized it was silly. So I do it out of passion, love, and trying to help others with it somehow. One more project I can mention. I think this is like the first project ever I started contributing regularly to under, let's say, my own name, because before I was kind of like in a shadow. It's European Bitcoiners. I think Jordan is doing also cool stuff in the UK with the Bitcoin Collective, but European Bitcoiners is like initiative of all of us from all over Europe and actually beyond. So I'm also trying whenever I have some spare time to contribute a little bit there. I also recently started writing fiction stories. Hopefully, end of this year, I will publish a book, a fiction book as well. Working pretty hard on that.
Is that related to Bitcoin or completely?
Mm. No, I mean, it is not directly about Bitcoin. Many things I'm trying to do are also within the Bitcoin Junior Club. This is also what we are doing even in the last 2 editions with the Bitcoin Film Fest, not showing this huge orange bee directly into your face. There is not necessary need for that, and there are more creative ways of approaching and inspiring and awakening people. So the fiction is more about, I would say, a little bit dystopian stories showing the reality in an exaggerated way, sometimes even funny. I mean, funny dystopian. This is like contradictory, right?
Yeah.
So I am doing it for Bitcoiners and normies and for people who have a feeling that there is something wrong and maybe looking for answers. And I think I hope through these stories, they can find Bitcoin one way or another. There will be always, and there is already in a few of these stories, something about Bitcoin mentioned, but it's not directly about Bitcoin. I think there is already enough of such content. So, yeah.
Well, the last question I ask all my guests is, what's one belief you held before Bitcoin that you've completely changed your mind about?
I think we can record a completely like a separate episode about that because there are so many different things. And I would even say that not everything I relearned or I learned anew is directly thanks to Bitcoin. Probably Bitcoin played some kind of role in that. But through this entire journey, I was exploring and sharpening my mind about so many different topics I was kind of aware of, but not fully. So, what did it change? I would say, and I think I mentioned it before, over the years, I changed my opinion about Bitcoin fixes this into no, Bitcoin is not going to fix us if we are not ready to be fixed and if it's not our own effort. This is the first thing. And second thing, I would say that Bitcoin maybe not helped me to change, but to sharpen is the kind of opinion we are living in a really synthetic reality. Like literally, way before Bitcoin, I was more into the cyberpunk, I would say, closer to that values and really interested in geopolitics and history. And now I can say that, whatever topic you touch, it's literally built on manipulation, lies, the power of few who are trying to play gods. So it's not like we are not living in a physical world, but in a way it's like Matrix. So that's maybe not I changed my opinion, but I sharpened my decision. And it's not like conspiracy theories. There are like thousands of facts and written words in history, science, and so on.
Great, I like that. So if people want to reach out to you, it sounds like you could list about 50 different places where they could find you, but where would you suggest is the best place?
Yes. The same as I have like so many different names and nicknames. That's another weird thing about me. Remember, waterfall, so it can be dangerous and full of energy.
Yeah.
So no, now seriously, being serious. I think the best place to reach out to me is actually Noster. So I am, of course, active on X, even on LinkedIn. No Facebook, no Instagram, but even LinkedIn. You can find me there, Selale Malkaciolo or Aza21M. But I'm mostly active and passionate about Noster, actually way beyond social media. People can also find me and reach out to me through Bitcoin Junior Club, which is active as a project on X and on Noster as well, though I would mostly invite people to visit the website because this is where I mostly allocate my time to. But if somebody wants to talk, if somebody didn't agree or doesn't agree with what I said during this podcast, or if they want to, some help for me or whatever the reason, I would say Noster is a best place. So Aza21M or Bitcoin Junior Club or Bitcoin Film Fest.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, it's been, I really enjoyed our conversation. Hopefully I'll get to meet you in real life in Manchester in November. That'd be great.
Yes, likewise. I mean, I'm not going, unfortunately, because I will be in Goa and then later.
Oh, you're not going to be there? Oh, now you tell me.
Like I will be with my heart.
Yeah.
Yes, but hope to see you somewhere in person, to meet you in person. It will be amazing. So thank you very much for this chat, and yeah, hope to keep in
Yeah,
touch.
thanks very much. Well, great to speak to you, and yeah, hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Shalal.